night. What music they make.
Oh, shit.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We will begin in just a couple moments. If you would grab a drink, grab your seats, we will begin in just a moment.
Well, let's get this show on the road. We are here at the end of May, and this is the 4th year we've actually been doing this Mission Possible conference, reducing the impact of substance abuse and mental illness in our communities. My name is Brock Rops. I'm the Executive Director for this HOSA South Dakota program, as well as the Deputy Director for the South Dakota AHEC.
Hi everyone, and hello to those of you joining online. I am Erin Surska. I work with Brock at South Dakota AHEC. I am the Director of the Center for Rural Health Improvement at the USD Stanford School of Medicine. And we are so excited to have you all today, both here in person and those of you joining online through our Whova app. This year we have around 300 folks that have registered for this conference. So we're really excited to host you all these next few days.
And so to connect with your fellow attendees and the speakers and the team here today, we highly encourage you, even though you're in person, to download that Whova app. Instructions are here on the screen to do so. You can find more details and assistance with the app at our tech table in the pre-function space. In the app, you'll be able to read up on all the great sessions we have today, learn more about the speakers, chat with your fellow attendees, and participate in our leaderboard competition. There are prizes to be earned through the app, so get engaged to win some of those at the end of day 2.
During our breaks, our folks in person will be able to visit our awesome research poster from our student out there, as well as all of our exhibitors. This is located in the pre-function space, or where you all registered over here in the hallway. And you can pick up this passport card if you haven't already. I already saw some folks participating. You get all of the signatures and you get your name drawn for a prize. So go out and say hello to all of our booths out there.
So we are so excited to have you here again with us for the next 2 days, and we aim to have some very positive dialogue surrounding some really high impact topics affecting a lot of people around the world. Most of us know someone who's facing issues regarding addiction, regarding mental illness, and we have our own stories to tell. So over the next 2 days, we hope you're energized and you're excited to virtually meet and in person greet your peers, as well as taking something to apply back to your professional circles. We, again, have some general sessions intermixed with a number of breakouts.
Just a reminder, for those of you that want continuing education credits, there is a link at the end of each session that you need to complete the survey to get those credits. And I highly encourage everyone else to complete those links. There will be 2 different surveys to take. One will be on each session, and one will be about the overall conference in general. And we literally review these as an in-house team and use it to design the next year's conference, whether it's speakers, topics, schedules, all of that. So please, please, please make sure you click on the link in the app and complete those surveys. And those of you that do want continuing education credits, you need to complete those to get those as well. If you're having trouble with the link, at the back of each breakout session, there's a QR code as well. So if you can't get it in the link, please use the QR code and fill out those surveys. We want to hear what you guys think.
We would like to take this opportunity to thank some of the folks who have certainly helped putting this Mission Possible conference, Possible conference on. First, we want to thank Stephanie Mayfield. She's the Executive Director for the West River AHEC, and the South Dakota Department of Social Services, for being incredible partners in the planning process and for helping us secure the speakers that you're going to hear over the next couple days.
We also have a steering committee that's been meeting over the last 6 months to get to where we are today. They identified topics, helped secure speakers, helped get our exhibitors where they are. So we'd like to thank you very, very much to the steering committee members for all of your assistance to get us to where we are today.
A big thank you also to Pinnacle Productions for all that they are doing behind the scenes, and all of our attendees in person and virtually, so that you can have a great experience.
And a very big thank you to the event company for all of their support in planning and execution of our conference. We wouldn't be able to do what we do without you. So let's give a round of applause to all of those that made this possible today.
Our first presentation to open up our 2023 conference is presented by Angela Kennecke. Angela founded Emily's Hope and is the president CEO of Emily's Hope. She will be speaking on preventing substance use and saving lives, the science-based Emily's Hope prevention curriculum for schools. Please help me welcome to the stage Angela Kennecke.
Let's go off this way.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I worked in television for 35 years. Some of you may know me from Kellogg TV. But my life forever changed on May 16th of 2018. That's when I lost my oldest daughter, Emily, who was just 21, to fentanyl poisoning. And I could never have dreamed the journey that this devastating loss would take me on, the horrible, the devastating, and also some of the good that is coming out of it. And I'm happy today to be here with you to share that. But first, I want to bring you the moment that my life, my whole career really started to change, and that's the broadcast that broke my heart. $72,000 people a year. That's what you heard in 2018. Shockingly, that number is now nearly 110,000 people a year. I don't know if we can get that slide, my next slide back up. There we go. It is the highest number on record of overdose deaths. About 80% of them are caused by fentanyl. Overdose deaths were actually up 2%, which is the lowest increase in recent years. But still, this number is shockingly high. And the reason that I put a crashed jetliner on there is because I often say that if nearly 300 people were dying every single day because they were on a plane and a jetliner was falling out of the sky and crashing, what would we be doing in this country? We would be grounding all flights. We would be figuring out how to solve this problem. Yet, because of the stigma and the shame associated with drug use and addiction, we're not doing enough today. These are all local people who have died in the last several years from fentanyl poisoning. And it's really sad. As you may know, fentanyl is the #1 killer of people ages 18 to 45. And when I look at these faces, what I see is all of the lost potential. You see Ryan down there on the piano. He could just sit down and play at any piano. I think about what music could have been written. Nicholas in the blue shirt with the orange background was a guitar player. And just so many talented people. I think about what businesses could have been started, what works of art could have been created, what music could have been written. And we will never know because we are losing far too many young people to this. Now, fentanyl is a deadly synthetic opioid, and the raw ingredients are coming from China, and they're being manufactured in Mexico by the drug cartels and being pushed into this country across the border, often through legal checkpoints hidden in tire wells, also on planes and airplanes. And it's getting into all of our drug supply. So there is no safe illicit drug out there. And all it takes is what's equivalent to about 4 grains of salt of fentanyl to kill someone. And I talk to kids, I talk to students all the time, and I tell them to go home and try to pour out 4 grains of salt out of a salt shaker. You can't do it. It's just such a minute amount. And then you have carfentanil, which is an elephant tranquilizer, and it takes even less of that to kill someone. And now you have the new xylazine, which is a horse tranquilizer, a veterinary drug, which drugs like life-saving drugs like Narcan don't even work on anymore. And of course, the dealers are appealing to young people because they want to get people hooked. They want to get a loyal customer because fentanyl is highly addictive. And once someone has taken a drug laced with fentanyl, if they don't die, oftentimes they will seek out fentanyl itself. And many of you may have heard of this rainbow-colored fentanyl, but it's really alarming. And I have talked to way too many parents who have walked in to their child's room one morning and found them dead in their room. That was the case of 16-year-old Sammy here, who bought a Percocet, what he thought was a Percocet off of Snapchat, but it was 100% fentanyl. Also the case for Zach in the middle. He had received a scholarship to UCLA. He was getting ready to go. He was 17. His mother found him slumped over his desk, dead in the morning, because he bought a pill for the second time off of Snapchat. And then you have Devin here from Minnesota, who was 19, who had a friend come over with a pill one Friday night. He's home with his family. His parents thought, we're not worried about our son. He's home. And his parents found him dead the next morning. They're also suing Snapchat right now, along with several other families. So, my own daughter's death and the death of so many other young people really had me thinking a lot about how can we prevent this kind of thing from happening? How can we prevent kids from even experimenting with drugs? Because most of you are around my age, maybe a little older, a little younger, but I think that alcohol experimentation, drug experimentation was always considered kind of a rite of passage. Oh, kids are going to do that. They're going to try that. They're going to grow out of that. But the days of experimentation have come to an end, especially with those most recent stories that I just told you about. And I got to thinking, and this is a very personal, anecdotal story, but I got to thinking that my daughter started with marijuana, and she graduated to Xanax, and then eventually, I didn't know this, but was using heroin. And that progression makes complete sense if you know anything about opioids in the human brain. In fact, almost every someone suffering from opioid use disorder that I have spoken to on a stage started with marijuana at a very young age. And as we know, the brain is not fully developed until you're 25, and kids who smoke marijuana have a 15 times more likely of becoming addicted as they go into adulthood. So I got to thinking about Emily and my daughter, and I thought, well, one thing I know about my daughter, I didn't know about the heroin, but one thing I did know was that she was anti-meth. She would never do meth. She would never try meth. And I thought, why was that? And she would talk down about meth users, tweaking, she'd say, and she'd talk down about them. And I realized that when Emily was in 3rd grade, I did a special for Keloland News on meth. And that's when it was being manufactured here, locally. Now most of it's very powerful and coming up from Mexico. And we showed the before and after photos of meth users. We talked about all kinds of stories about how meth had ruined people's lives, about people had died after using meth because they'd gotten into an accident or they'd been in jail and all these things. And I made my daughter watch that special with me in 3rd grade. And I think it made such an impact on her that she never, ever, despite using heroin, it doesn't make sense logically, right? But would never use meth. So I got to thinking, we need to get to kids younger. We need to start teaching them in age-appropriate, scientific ways about their bodies, their brains, substances effect on the brains, their emotions, and pressures that they face, and how to handle all those things. And we need to warn them about all mind-altering substances and the effect on the brain. And I had this little idea, little spark of an idea. And I started looking for these kinds of curriculum, and I have to tell you, it's very, very rare. But I started telling people about my idea. And I had so many amazing people come alongside of me. I had doctors and drug and alcohol counselors and teachers and all kinds of administrators, principals come alongside me and become part of our Emily's Hope Education Curriculum Committee. In fact, we have one of the only triple certified psychiatrists in the state who's also a child psychiatrist and addictionologist on our team. And we spent 2 years working on our elementary school curriculum. We started with an idea, we did some research, we found out that there was a curriculum for elementary school kids in Ohio, but it was focused all on opioids. And we looked around and was very little out there. But we got our pilot together and we piloted our curriculum for 3rd and 4th grade. We left it up to the schools to decide what year they were going to teach it, and some taught for both. And we piloted it in 9 schools across the state, or 8 schools across the state in South Dakota and 1 in Minnesota. So 9 schools total last year. And we meet all South Dakota health standards as well as all national health standards with this special curriculum. And after our pilot program, we got busy working on all of the other grade levels and all of the lesson plans. So we start out in kindergarten with just a few lessons, nothing overwhelming for kindergartners. We do a lesson on the difference between medication versus candy. Everything is very age appropriate. And then we progress in 1st grade. We add another lesson in 2nd grade. Until 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, we have 8 lessons, all 8 lessons in all. And one of the great things about our curriculum is that it's an extremely rich curriculum with a lot of supplemental materials, including a song that the kids are crazy about. And everything that has happened with this curriculum has been somewhat miraculous in my mind. First of all, the number of people who came alongside of me to help me develop it was incredible. Second of all, when I started exploring how do we do an animation series, how do we do children's books, I looked into an animator in California and they wanted $100,000 for 1 3-part animation series. And I thought, we're just a little nonprofit, we can't afford that. So I found animation students to work on it for me. And my committee decided we needed a song. So I wrote the lyrics to the song, and then I took it to a producer who produced the music and a vocalist who sang the song and got her music students who are children to sing it along with them. And this is the results. And this song has been a huge hit with our kids. So
My brain is the best tool I've got. It helps me jump and run and think a lot. It's up to me to protect my brain. If I take something I shouldn't, I won't feel the same. Sometimes I feel glad or mad. My brain deserves love even when it's sad. 'Cause no matter what, my brain and me can learn new things and be the best that we can be. My brain is the best tool I've got. It helps me jump and run and think a lot. It's up to me to protect my brain. If I take something I shouldn't, I won't feel the same. So I'm going to make sure I keep my brain healthy and secure. I'll make good choices every day. My brain is my best friend forever and always. My brain is the best tool I've got. It helps me jump and run and think a lot. It's up to me to protect my brain. If I take something I shouldn't, I won't feel the same. Brain power!
And I could show you all the different lesson plans that we have, but you will get the gist. I have 3 short animations to show you next that accompany our lessons for the 3rd grade, and we have 10 animations total. They start in 1st and go through 5th. We actually also have a poet who sat down and did a video with us for 5th graders who talked about journaling and expressing your emotions through writing that we have for teachers to play. But I'm just going to play these animations kind of back to back so you can get an idea of what is included in some of the lessons.
Hello, my name is Emily, and I'm learning a lot of stuff about my brain.
Hi, Emily. I'm Eduardo. Learning about the brain, that's great. The brain is like the boss of my body. It makes it possible for me to do all kinds of things every day, like jumping, playing, and even learning cool things in school.
Yes, the brain helps us do things that we can control and other things that we cannot control, like our feelings, breathing, and even our heartbeat. Our brain is always working, even when we sleep. Check it out. This is what's inside your head, your brain. Your skull protects your brain from bumps, blows, and jolts.
Your brain tells you when something feels good and when something feels bad. This is what your healthy brain looks like.
Our brain is the size of a cantaloupe, but it looks like a huge pink walnut. It's squishy and soft and has many folds and creases. It weighs as much as a football when we're born. 2 footballs during elementary school, and around 3 footballs by the time we grow up into adults. Our brain helps us pay attention to our body. Your brain is connected to your body through a network of nerves, which are kind of like electrical wires in our body, sending information when something good or bad is happening to it. These nerves send millions of messages to your brain about what's going on. The owie feeling when you break your arm actually comes from your brain.
No one likes to feel an owie, but pain tells you to get help, and it also helps you from hurting your ouchie even more by not using your arm until it gets better. A doctor may give you some medicine that calms down that part of the brain that tells you that you are in pain until your arm is fixed.
The brain is like a supercomputer of the body. Your nerves can send messages to your brain faster than a racing car. The brain then processes these messages and tells the rest of the body what to do, like telling your body to sit still in school.
But some kids' brains aren't wired like other kids, and this can change how the messages get delivered between their brains and bodies.
So their doctor may give them a pill to take for their brain so the messages are received or delivered properly.
But if your brain is perfectly healthy like this one, you don't need any medicine. Your doctor will let you know if you need any medicine. Your parents may also give you some medicine if you're hurt or if you're sick.
In fact, taking medicine you don't need or taking more than what your doctor tells you to do can actually make your brain not work the way it's supposed to. You should never take someone else's medicine because it could really hurt your brain.
A healthy brain will let you do all the fun things you get to do every day.
So these are our characters, Emily and Eduardo, and it was actually my committee's idea to name the main character Emily, which was really sweet. This next one deals with emotions.
Hi guys, it's Emily again, and I'm using my brain power today to paint a picture.
That's really good, Emily. But why did you use so much dark-colored paint? It looks kind of sad and scary.
Oh, Eduardo, I got up late and I missed the bus. My mom got mad, had to drive me all the way to school, and then during reading time, LaShonda took the book I wanted to read. I had a really bad day, and this is a picture of my feelings.
Oh, Emily, that's too bad. Did painting the picture make you feel better?
It really did.
Emily, did I tell you what happened to me the other day?
No? What happened, Eduardo?
Jack told me he had a secret, and when we were at our lockers, he pulled a little bottle out of his backpack and showed it to me.
What was it?
I don't know, but there was a liquid in it, and he told me that it was alcohol, and he drank it. He told me I should drink it too.
Did you, Eduardo?
I said no, but Jack started laughing and pointing at me and calling me a chicken.
Oh no, that must have hurt your feelings.
It really did. I wanted to cry.
So, did you drink what was in that little bottle?
No, I told Jack that I cared too much about protecting my brain to put something in my body that I knew I shouldn't. Alcohol is not for kids.
Wow, that's amazing, Eduardo. I'm so proud of you.
I'm proud of me too.
And each of our lessons all contains how helping kids deal with their emotions and the peer pressure that they may face. This final video that I'm going to show you, the final animation from the 3rd grade, is about substances' effect on the brain and why people act the way they do when they use substances in a way that kids can understand.
Hi, everyone. It's been so much fun to learn about our brains and how to keep them healthy.
Our brains make us feel good when we do things to stay alive, like when you're really hungry or thirsty and you eat your favorite food or take a drink of water. You feel so much better. My mom says that our brain sends special signals to make us feel good.
Yes, Eduardo. Our brain releases a happiness signal called dopamine, the happy feeling that you get when you score a soccer goal, get birthday presents or holiday gifts, do good on a test is all due to dopamine. But sometimes our brain feels good when we do something that isn't as good for us as drinking water, sleeping, or eating healthy food.
I know what you mean, Emily. My mom tells me that it's okay to eat one of her yummy chocolate chip cookies, but once I taste one, I can't stop myself from eating the whole plate of cookies. They just taste so good. But then I get a tummy ache, and once, after I ate a whole plate of cookies, I even threw up, and that's no fun.
Yuck! But I can understand how hard it is to just eat one cookie. The sugar from the cookie is like a dopamine or a happy boost to our brain, and it's hard to stop. It's just not worth the bad tummy ache you can get.
I think that happens to my uncle, Felix. When he drinks alcohol, he never drinks just a little, and pretty soon he's acting so strange.
My mom told me that can happen when people use drugs too. They can stop wanting to do things that used to make them happy.
My teacher explained to me why some adults use drugs or drink a lot of alcohol. These substances get into their brain and make them feel good. After using it again and again, the substances take over the brain like a bank robber might take over a bank.
When those substances take over the brain, they don't feel happy with everyday things like friends, food, family time, sports, or even taking good care of themselves and others. Instead, all they want is more alcohol or drugs. Even drugs and alcohol don't make them happy after some time, and they become dependent on them. Did you know people who use these drugs get hooked on a substance which make them hurt when they try to stop? And these drugs can sometimes kill people too.
That's sad, Emily. It sounds like their brains and bodies get hooked and trapped by the substances. They need more and more and more of those drugs or alcohol to make them feel as good as the first time they took them.
So they keep using more cigarettes, beer, marijuana, pills, or other drugs which then start damaging their brains and bodies. And then their body and brain just don't work correctly.
It's called substance use disorder. That means that substances are causing a real problem for someone's health, and it can affect the rest of their lives too.
I learned something else too, Eduardo. The younger that people are when they try these substances, which are not for kids, the faster and more likely they are to get substance use disorder. Substance use doesn't allow brains to grow as they would naturally. It makes people do silly or bad things and hurt their bodies, their family, and their friends.
That's because our brains are still growing, and when you take something like alcohol or drugs, it really doesn't let the brain grow right. Alcohol and other drugs weaken the growing brain.
I want to protect my growing brain, Eduardo. I want to be a marine biologist when I grow up.
I want to be an astronaut, so I don't want my brain to get weak.
Let's make a promise that we won't take any kind of medicine that isn't from our doctor or try any kind of drug or drink alcohol while our brains are growing, Eduardo.
What about in high school, Emily? Are our brains all grown up in high school? My older brother is so big, he's like a grown man.
No, Eduardo. Our brains aren't fully developed until we're 25.
That's a long time from now, but I promise to keep my brain as healthy as possible and stay away from anything that could hurt it and keep me from living out my dreams.
I promise too, Eduardo. I can't wait to swim with the sharks.
And I'm going to be blasting into outer space because I'm going to keep my brain healthy.
One of the great things that I found is that I've gone to our pilot schools and I've spoken to almost all of the third or fourth graders who got the curriculum. And they have so many questions for me. But one of the great things I found, I was just in one smaller school a couple of weeks ago, right before school let out. And every kid had a story about someone in their family who used substances to excess. And this curriculum really helped them understand it. Because I think that they would hear adults talk about it and they wouldn't understand, like, why is that person acting the way they do? Why is that person sick? Why aren't they coming over? Why aren't they doing what they say? And what really the most profound thing that I took away from those meetings with the kids was that now they understood it. They understood how the substances affect the brains of their loved ones and why they were doing what they did. So that was pretty fascinating to me. Now, we also include a number of worksheets that go along with our curriculum that have been very popular with the kids. And we use the characters throughout our entire curriculum, K through 5. The other thing we have as a tagline in our emotions and pressures lessons is PTA, pause, think, act. So we are teaching kids to pause when something is happening that they don't know how to handle, to think about it, and then take action following their thinking about it, which we hope will help slow down that impulsiveness as they get into middle and high school and have a chance to try drugs or alcohol. Every grade level includes a children's book, which was written by me, approved by the committee, and illustrated actually by Emily's sister, Abby, which is kind of cool because it's her way of giving back and helping with the charity. And then we are obviously studying our curriculum. So we are studying our curriculum in a couple of different ways. We have the Beacom Fellows at Augustana University studying our curriculum, and we're also going through the IRB at USD. And these are just the preliminary results. Actually, these are the final results of our pilot schools. It's not our control schools. We had those as well. But I have been really impressed by the results, and I'm going to read them to you. So we asked kids, fentanyl is, and obviously the right answer is dangerous, not a pizza topping. And we went from 77.5% knowing that fentanyl was dangerous, which is pretty good, but we increased that by more than 10%. And then our next question, my brain controls my entire body. That increase in knowledge was, more than 15%. So we were very pleased with that results. And then finally, this is a really tough one for third graders. Name the 3 main parts of the brain. Obviously, the right answer is in kind of a red there. And the number almost doubled of what the kids knew. We asked them what feel-good chemical does the brain release? And this one is also a tough one, but they remembered that dopamine. And I think that was also because of the animation. And then, of course, we asked them what PTA stands for, and kids who didn't have the curriculum wouldn't know. But the increase in knowledge there is really great, I think, and I think that's something kids can take with them throughout their school experience. Also, we would hope that all of our kids know that they should only take medication from a trusted adult, but we can't assume that they all know that, so we were also pleased with the increase here in knowledge. And finally, this next question is a tough one for third graders. I think it's a tough one for anybody. Tolerance impedes brain function and could cause me to, the correct answer is lose interest in things that I like, and you can see a considerable increase there after the kids got the curriculum. Now, we would hope that kids would know that alcohol and drugs change their brain, and many of them did before they got the curriculum, but that knowledge also went up by 10%. And what would happen if I start using drugs before my brain is done growing? And I think this is a really important thing for kids. And again, about a 10% increase in knowledge. And finally, what area of the brain controls my emotions? Also a tough question, but also an increase there in what the kids learned from the curriculum. So one of the privileges I've had as we've gone around piloting this, and now we have about 40 schools signed up through our K-5 next year, is I've been able to go into the classroom and actually see the curriculum in action, and I'm gonna share that experience with you.
And I'm gonna see if you guys can help me think of some feeling words. I think emotional health is a huge need. They drew a picture of weather and they related it to a feeling. Here's a cloudy day.
Marie Atkinson Smines has been a school counselor for 34 years.
Just being in education as long as I've been in it, you've seen what is happening to families. There's people that, end up dying from drugs.
That's why Mrs. Atkinson Smines is piloting the Emily's Hope Prevention Curriculum for third graders in the classroom.
It covers drugs and it covers alcohol, but it's talking about your choices and your brain.
Every lesson starts with a song.
I like the song. I like the song because it's really catchy and the kids like it.
The pictures, the videos, the music. I like the song.
Brain power.
The rich prevention curriculum includes a children's picture book.
I pass the book around and I have different kids read so they can take turns.
On top of your brainstem.
I like the books and the pictures in it, and I like the songs and the videos.
Hello, my name is Emily, and I'm learning a lot of stuff about my brain.
Hi, Emily. I'm Eduardo.
Characters kids can identify with teach them important lessons on how to keep their bodies and brains safe.
We have to educate kids at their level.
I learned about that taking drugs will make you feel different, and it won't make you happy. It will make you upset and angry.
A lot of them say, well, I'm not going to take drugs. But then they say other things too, like, I want to eat healthy, I want to drink water, I want to exercise, I want to sleep. It's not just about drugs, it's about being like a whole healthy person.
I learned don't take medicine from other people and don't take drugs. But you think it'll change your life and you'll be happy, but it never will. Just make your life a big mess.
I just hope that they learn to make good choices, in life, and that they think about, each choice that they make is going to affect them, their physical health and their emotional health.
vital lessons these children will take with them as they move beyond elementary school.
Brain power!
It always helps to have cute kids, right? And I was just really happy because they obviously got the message. It was really, really rewarding and cool to see. Now, what's next? So we are reconvening this summer. Some of the elementary school teachers are dropping off of our committee, and we've invited and had several middle and high school counselors join the committee, as well as science teachers. So we're going to start our 6 through 12 curriculum, writing, planning, and writing, and then have that done by the following school year. So we'll be K through 12 when the project is all complete. We are also developing an education portal, so it will be easy for educators just to sign on to our portal. We're going to continue to study the curriculum through next year, K through 5 and beyond, but when educators log in to our portal, they'll have to take surveys first, and then they'll have to take surveys at the end so we can continue to study and see how effective it is, because we do want to be scientific and evidence-based. So I would love to take your questions now if you have any questions for me about the curriculum or anything else. No questions from this group? Oh my gosh. Okay, we have one back here.
Sorry, would you mind speaking into
I've been advocating for prevention like my whole life, and this curriculum gives me so much hope that you really are going to make a difference in so many kids' lives. I just can't say thank you enough.
Thank you. Well, we sure hope so. I mean, we hope that that's the case, and it appears from our results from our pilot program that the kids are going to be learning and hopefully retaining some of this stuff, especially if they have it K through 5. And I thought it was also interesting that there is very little out there, and I really believe we need to get to kids before middle school when their phones and their peers have more influence on them than their teachers and their parents. So, yeah, thank you. Yes?
I also think you've done a wonderful job. Working in mental health, I'm kind of curious what you've seen, like you said, when we are becoming, or our children are becoming more aware of the adults in their lives being affected by substances. How do you think we can empower children to know that this is happening in their environment? They can't necessarily make a change, but they can make a change for themselves.
Right, that's something that we've talked extensively about. In fact, in the committee, one of the things that, of course, everyone is afraid of, I think, in education is parents' reaction to this curriculum. And one of the things that we found, I thought the guidance counselor in that video handled it so well when I went and talked to the school. Of course, some kids are raising their hands and saying, well, my dad drinks beer, and the guidance counselor said, well, alcohol is legal for adults to drink, but it does become a problem when they drink too much of it, which is true, right? And so we don't want kids to go home and tell their parents they can't have a glass of wine or beer at night. We also have a parent packet that's being developed by a medical student right now that will be on our website for parents to give them all kinds of information. And one really, I think, positive thing, out of the 9 schools and 435 students or so who got the curriculum, some of the educators were worried about, our parents going to be upset? Like, you can't teach kids this, or you can't tell them about fentanyl, what fentanyl is, and the fact that it's deadly. And out of all of those kids, we only had one parent come in and talk to the guidance counselor because she was worried that we were going to take it too far. And there's nothing scary in our curriculum. We're not trying to frighten kids. We're just trying to educate them. But once that parent saw the curriculum, she was fine with it. So we thought that was a really positive thing in terms of parents. But in terms of empowering children, right, it's all about them and making choices. So we focus on that rather than trying to control somebody else, trying to explain why maybe these adults in their lives are acting how they're acting or doing what they're doing. One thing I have to tell you, we also piloted this in Rosebud, at Rosebud Elementary on the reservation. And I think we all in this room know about some of the substance use disorder issues that are very prevalent on reservations. And while all these kids in all these schools had various little stories for me, the saddest ones I heard were from Rosebud. So I heard one little boy talk about he was separated from his mother for a year because of drugs and he hadn't seen her. And another little boy talked about how his dad and his uncle were in prison because of drugs. So those kids are living this right now. So I think just giving them the tools to create better understanding and to also not vilify those people in their lives that are suffering from substance use disorder, to make kids understand that it's a disease of the brain. Yes.
I'm Holly Waiter. I am an SOC provider, and I have to agree with you. I work with a lot of kids that come from the reservations, and I think it's more so parents out there are so scared of like kids learning about drugs and alcohol in the schools, but it does need to be taught, and we need to change the stigma because, I mean, a lot of the kids I work with the reservation, I mean, they are given drugs, they are given alcohol, and then they get out the reservation and they come into our community not knowing how to really behave, and that's not their fault. And so I feel like if we change the stigma, I think it's a really great thing that you're doing, Angela, so thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I have just two things. So I follow you on social media and Emily's Hope and see all the great things that's going on. So can you talk a little bit more about how, if we wanted to be involved in Emily's Hope or the curriculum, how that can be and maybe other things that you're doing?
Sure. Emily's Hope is just doing a ton of things. So it's me and 4 part-time workers and 1 almost part-time, full-time volunteer. And we are doing a lot of things. So we have a really great website with a lot of resources for people. We also offer treatment scholarships through the Avera Addiction Care Center. And we've helped put 350 people through treatment so far. Thank you. She's laughing back there. It's really, that's really rewarding for me. In fact, that's what we started doing. So when I was still working at Kello and right after my daughter died, I just thought, can I start a fund and help people get into treatment? And Avera was like, sure, you can give us your money. Raise whatever money you want. And so we've had some really great fundraisers and very generous people. And when I talk about the lost potential to the world, some of you may know that my daughter was an artist. And we use her art, especially in our art show and auction fundraiser in the winter. And last year we raised $70,000 through that one event, which was the most we've ever raised. And that goes to help people go through treatment. We've also pledged $100,000 to the Adolescent Addiction Care Center, which only has 8 beds, I believe. Is that right? 8, right? I think they could use more because they're always full. And so then we also have a support group for people who've lost people to overdose or fentanyl. It's a very stigmatized death. So it's a really hard thing to cope with when you're in my position with some of the things the rest of the world says and some of the things that you see on social media, and also just feeling very alone, even with other parents who've lost children. I always say one of the things that people come up to me and they say, I lost a child too, but it wasn't from drugs. And that's a really kind of hurtful thing to hear. So we have about 10 parents in our support group right now that are meeting. We're meeting once a month now over the summer, but we were meeting every other week earlier, and we got some United Way funding for that. And then we also just recently worked out a partnership with The Link, and we received 10,000 fentanyl testing strips, and we had a whole group of volunteers come and help us sticker those because the stickers have instructions on them, and we've already started distributing them. We're distributing them, planning on distributing them to bars, local agencies and groups, really anybody that wants them. And we were working on Narcan too, and now that that is becoming legal toward the over-the-counter, sorry, not legal, over-the-counter toward the end of the summer, we hope to get Narcan in to help pass that out for free after we figure out how to do that. So we're doing a lot. And we do a weekly podcast for awareness and reducing stigma. We talk about grief. It's called Grieving Out Loud, if anybody wants to start listening to that. So we talk about grief, we talk about addiction, we talk about the whole range of things involving that. I talk to parents who've lost kids. So we've put out, we've gone past 100 episodes. I think we're at 110 right now. We're close to it. And I write a blog. So those are all things that we're doing with our little staff at Emily's Hope. And we have a lot of events coming up this summer, so we always need volunteers for different things. For events, we have a fireworks show on Saturday out at the T Sports Complex, if anybody wants to come out and see that. We also have a poker run on June 24th, a car show on July 19th, and then we observe International Overdose Awareness Day on August 31st here in Sioux Falls at the Arc, and we light up the Arc purple, and we have several partners like the Helpline that come alongside us for that as well.
Thank you. We have a question in the chat from Janet Thompson. They asked, what would the cost be to schools, classes, school districts to put the curriculum in place?
That's the best part. I love that question. What's the cost? For now, it's free. So I know curriculums can be very, very expensive for schools. And as part of our mission, and because we've been able to get a couple of grants, we are offering our curriculum free to schools. And that's all the materials. So we're really, really excited to be able to do that. We don't know as we grow. Like I said, we've got 40 schools signed up already for next fall. If we have 140 the following year, we may need to start charging something to pay for our administrative costs. But at this point, it's free, I'm happy to say. Any other questions?
Thanks so much for speaking today and just what you've done with Emily's Hope. Question regarding schools. If you approach schools, or we've got contacts in schools, do you go to via the counselor first? Do you go to the school board first? Do you go to a principal or soup first? Or what's that process like?
We usually go to the superintendent or the director of curriculum, which is often the assistant, like here in Sioux Falls, it's the assistant superintendent. So that's who we usually approach. In fact, we just sent out letters to 5 states all around Minnesota, Iowa, South Dakota, Nebraska, North Dakota, offering all schools our curriculum for next year, K through 5. But usually we start there, and the superintendent will point us in the right direction. And it's being administered either by the counselor or the teacher. We leave that up to schools to decide. Anything else? Yes, in fact, the question was, am I reaching out to tribal schools? I've just been in contact with someone from BIE, and so she's interested in it. I think they have like 4, that's federal schools, but it's available to anybody who would want it, yeah, so.
I have a question of how much knowledge do you think children have about illicit drugs at this age before the curriculum?
So, we don't really introduce the concept of illicit drugs in kindergarten or first grade. We start more with prescription drugs and those kinds of things. I think what's been my experience when I go talk to these kids in the classrooms, that they already know what it is. I've had kids talk about relatives, as I told you earlier, who are suffering from substance use disorder. I've also had kids talk about, one kid raised, my dad used to do drugs, so they're not in the dark. And think about what they see, even if they're not supposed to be watching these things, think about what they see on television too, or even social media if they have access to that, which often they do in 4th and 5th grade at least.
Any other questions?
Okay. Thank you very much for having me.
Again, I want to say thank you for coming and sharing your story with us. Angela, just the tenacity and the bravery and the vulnerability I know hits everyone in this room and virtually every time I've heard it a couple times, and it's just great. It's how you've turned this around, created curriculum and a whole bunch of opportunities to be involved. So I know there's lots of different things, but you mentioned 4 events, and if you wanted to learn more, if we could go back to the information, you can check her on social media and then also website, correct? So thanks again. Let's give one more round of applause for everything you're doing.
So at this time, we are getting set to get into our breakouts, so you can stretch your legs. So we've got a mini break here because we've got to transition these rooms. So make sure you get out to see the exhibitors that are out there. The titles of the breakouts should be on the screen. And so there's back-to-back-to-back breakouts in this room, and then there's back-to-back-to-back breakouts in this room. And then after those breakouts, we'll have another 15-minute break and reconvene back here, okay, at 4:20 for our final large group presentation.
And again, during the break, if you haven't already, check out our exhibitor booths, look at our student poster. West River AHEC is here with their amazing brain. It's really fun to go through and learn from, so please check that out. Also, if you haven't already, get your passport completed, and if it is completed, you can turn it into where you checked in for the conference to be entered for a drawing. Another plug, you'll hear me every time I have the mic, is to make sure you fill out your surveys. There is a link on the Whova app to do that. Again, it's very important information. We literally use this to plan next year's conference, so I really want to hear your feedback about each session and the overall conference. Also, if you do want CEUs, you do need to complete that survey in order to get your credits. If you're having trouble with the link, you can use the QR codes that are in the back of the room. So again, we're going to break now. Go ahead, check out the exhibitors. I think we might have our snacks out.
Yeah, and we'll be back here at 4:20.
Awesome. Thanks.
Enjoy the breakouts.